High drama for the A's and Giants on opening day. That's next on Curveballs and Changeups, a baseball podcast straight out of Sacramento. This is a podcast for Giants and A's fans and baseball fans in general. No straight fastballs here, folks. Just a bunch of off-speed pitches to keep the hitters off balance. Maybe a few cutters and some riding heat just to keep you honest. I played the game. I once hit a grand slam home run in an over 30 baseball league. Sure, it was off a 46-year-old airline pilot and the wind was blowing out, but it carried 360 feet and flew over the left field wall. I covered baseball as a sports writer in the 1980s and early 90s. I've been a baseball fan since 1968 when the kid down the block introduced the Giants to me and my brothers. The next year, my dad took me to my first Major League Baseball game at the Oakland Coliseum to watch the A's. Hence, a podcast for both teams. Who says you can only root for one of them? All right, today, before we plunge into the rest of the season, a look at opening day, the special day. Should be a national holiday. Was a holiday for the kids in Cincinnati. No school on opening day. Did you know that? All right. First, the A's, who lost 4-2 to the Seattle Mariners. It was a tough one. Jose LcClerc came into the bottom of the eighth inning with a 2-1 lead, hoping to set up Mason Miller for the save, but he gives up a 2-run homer in the eighth inning. Gives up 2 home runs in the eighth inning to blow that one. It ruined the good feels of Tyler Sodorstrom's 2-homer season debut and of starting pitcher Luis Severino's 6 shutout inning performance. Let's get into what happened with LeClerc. He started the inning off by winning an 11-pitch battle with Cal Raleigh on a 93-mile-an-hour fastball up swinging. Next hitter, Randy Arozarena, LeClerc got ahead 0-2 on 2 crisp sliders away. Arozarena fouled off the next pitch, a 96 fastball up, but then LeClerc hangs a slider, game tied. If you only thought about maybe throwing another fastball up, maybe getting the slider a little bit out, we would have had a different outcome. Luke Raley then worked the count full, fouled off a payoff pitch, and then walked. And then LeClerc gets ahead of the next hitter, Jorge Polanco, 0-2 on 2 beautiful changeups. But then he misses on the next 2, the count evening at 2-2. And then Polanco fouls off a 95-mile-an-hour heater, but then was ready for the next one as LeClerc laid in another one right down the middle. The target was in, but the pitch got too much of the plate, right in the heart of the plate, and Polanco took it out for what proved to be the game winner. And a lot of fans were heartbroken with that. Maybe some blame going down on LeClerc. He's a new acquisition off-season, was a former closer with the Texas Rangers. I think fans have high expectations for him. But I don't know if this game reflects anything more than just bad location on a couple of pitches, maybe the wrong pitch selection. Just bad luck on opening day. It was just a bad moment for him. I do have to take a moment to talk about Severino and his beautiful performance in his debut for the A's. What a game. And he showed so much of the veteran savvy that he brings over from the New York scene that I'm giving him that new nickname, Savvy Sevvy. And what a performance. He went 6 innings, shutout innings, allowed only 3 hits. He walked 4, struck out 6. Those 4 walks, he had to pitch around an umpire who missed at least 3 real crucial pitches that I might add that the ABS system, the automatic balls and strikes system that may come into play next year, would have overturned those calls. And those pitches, those calls had an impact on the game, and I'll lay it out for you in a minute. The umpire, Mark Carlson, is known for a tight zone, though he wasn't missing the Seattle starter, Logan Gilbert's close ones. In the first inning, right away, Carlson missed one, a beautiful slider that should have been strike 3 but went for a walk. And that was with 2 outs, so that's extra pitches. But the Savvy Sevvy got the next hitter, Arozarena, on 4 pitches to end the inning. But that's 4 extra pitches, right? Second inning, Severino showed his veteran savvy here when he faced a first and second with with one out in the second, and he ended the threat by inducing a double play ground ball. High school teammates Jacob Wilson and Max Muncy teaming up for their first double play on the big league level. Muncy, I have to add here, got a rude welcome to the big leagues in his debut. Logan Gilbert striking him out in his first at-bat on 3 off-speed pitches. He became the youngest opening day starter for the A's as a second baseman since Shooty Babbitt in 1981. All right, in the third inning, the A's might have had something to go on when Jacob Wilson lined a 2-out single, the team's first hit of the year, and Lawrence Butler hit a 110-mile-an-hour bullet up the middle, but it hit Gilbert square on the backside. He scrambled after it and threw out Butler to end the inning. In the bottom of the third, the umpire misses another Severino 2-strike pitch, which would have ended the third, but Severino ends up walking Julio Rodriguez. Then he falls behind Cal Raleigh 2-1, but gets out of the inning by jamming him with a 96 on the hands. But that's another 4 pitches that Severino had to throw. And it adds up, and then you'll find out, at the end he had 99 pitches after 6 innings. If you give him those extra 8 to 12 pitches, maybe he goes another inning and we have another outcome. In the fourth inning, he had a strong fourth with 2 Ks, including Rowdy Tellez. After falling behind 2-1, Severino throws a 96 by him and gets a called third strike on another 96 just below the belt. Don't know what Tellez was looking for. And then in the top of the fifth, Sodorstrom breaks the ice with a 2-out solo shot off Gilbert, who hung a slider, maybe a splitter, but it was one of the very few mistakes that Gilbert made, and Sodorstrom took advantage. Bottom of the fifth, umpire Carlson misses another perfect pitch. Instead of a 1-1 count to second baseman Ryan Bliss, it's 2-0, and Sevvy winds up walking Bliss. He then misses the first 2 pitches to J.P. Crawford, so he missed 6 straight. Got a visit from pitching coach Scott Emerson, who seemed to calm him down a bit. Severino finally gets a call on the corner and then actually gets a break on a miss by the umpire for 2 strikes on J.P. Crawford. And then Sevvy just blows away J.P. for a K. But with 2 outs, Bliss steals second and takes third on a throwing error by Langolier. The tying runner at third base with Seattle star Julio Rodriguez up. Sevvy falls behind 2-0, but gets him on a weak grounder off a 96 heater on the hands to end the threat. That's what Severino did all night long, was to pitch in and out of trouble and show his veteran savvy by making the pitches at the right time. And in the bottom of the sixth, he had a 1-out walk to Rosarena, and then Severino walks Luke Raley. He jams Luke Raley, but Raley gets a dunker into center field for a single, and you have runners at first and second with 1 out. I know a lot of people at that point were thinking, okay, it's time to yank the starter. He's gone long enough, but Kotze stayed put, and even after the next play, when Polanco bunted the runners over to second and third, he stayed with Severino. That was a bunt for a hit, by the way, though it was scored as a sacrifice bunt. But Severino, with a really nice play off the mound, gets a good throw over to first to get Polanco. But here he had runners at second and third, 2 outs. He falls behind Tellez 2-1, but he's throwing it up there at 97, 98. Jenny Kavnar, the play-by-play broadcaster, said, "Did you see him throw 98 in spring training?" She asked Dallas Braden, the color man. And he said, "No, but I'm not complaining." All right, so then Sevvy empties the tank with a 98 down the middle that Tellez complains about for some reason. Maybe it's an Elk Grove thing. Maybe they don't call strikes on those fastballs down the middle. And after Tellez fouls off another 99, Sevvy throws his 99th pitch, and that was a brilliant slider, a masterful pitch on the outside corner for a called third strike. And Severino celebrated on the mound and afterwards talked about how it felt like a playoff game, which he knows about. What a performance for Luis Savvy, and it's something that fans were hoping for when they got the acquisition. Didn't realize how good it would be. But that was it for him. He would be gone after the sixth inning. And as Shooty Babbitt, who does the post-game analysis, said afterwards, he said, why not keep him in for more? He was strong and in command. That's an issue I will be touching on all year long. All I can say right now is, okay, it was the opening day. You get 99 pitches on your first game. You go 6 innings. But from here on out, let's try to stretch it out. And let's push him for well beyond 100 pitches. That 100-pitch count does not need to apply to a big, strong guy like Luis Severino. Well, as you all know, things got weird in the bottom of the 7th inning. Reliever Tyler Ferguson walked the first 2 hitters he faced. And then Victor Robles squares to bunt, and all hell breaks loose. The ball gets by Langoliers. Langoliers briefly argues that it was fouled off the bat, but then realizes he better get back to the backstop to get the ball. But by then, Speedy Bliss is racing home from second and slides into home and was called safe on a bang-bang play. Crawford trailed him to third base. Kotze, though, challenges the call. He can't do anything about the missed bunt, which the A's contended was fouled off. But if you look at the replays, it was missed. The bat missed the ball, and so did the glove, and it went back to the backstop. But he wins the challenge on the call at the plate. Bliss, on his slide, his foot lifted up from impact, and Tyler Ferguson, the pitcher who was covering, was able to make a nice tag just ahead of the score, and so the run is taken off the board. It's still 1-0 A's, but J.P. Crawford is at third base with 1 out, and he scores 2 pitches later on a sacrifice fly to tie the game. But still, big disaster averted for now. And then at the top of the 8th inning, Sodorstrom plays like hero and gets his second home run, a 111-mile-an-hour bullet that went into the right field stands on a line. But it wasn't meant to be. And the rest is history as LcClerc winds up coughing it up in the bottom of the 8th inning, and the A's go down quietly in the 9th. And that was game 1 in the books. But, folks, just one game. You got 161 left. I listened to a couple of podcasts earlier today, and I couldn't help but cringe at the emotional breakdown on one of the A's podcasts. Just the podcast host just could not fathom that the A's could lose in such a way. But only over in the other side, I'm listening to the Giants podcasters who are just a little bit too celebratory. I mean, just as if this is a Super Bowl victory for them. But so let's get to the Giants. The Giants actually had just a wonderful opener. It ended stunningly. Basically, the Giants looked dead for the first 8 innings, outside of one swing of the bat by Elliot Ramos, who hit a 2-run homer off of Hunter Green, the starter, the starting pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds, who was just throwing bullets by the Giants, had 8 strikeouts in 5 innings. But the Giants were able to pull it off with a dramatic 9th inning victory. Before that, though, they were striking out left and right. 17 strikeouts on the day. Amazingly, those 17 strikeouts weren't the most on the day by a team. The Phillies struck out 19 times against Washington. They were stifled by Mackenzie Gore, mostly the starting pitcher for the Washington Nationals, who struck out 13 in 6 innings. But so the strikeout epidemic is still alive. Something to have to watch for and hopefully improve on. And as I said, Ramos's 2-run homer was all the Giants had mustered against a dominant Hunter Green. But it was enough to keep them in the game. They were down 3-2 in the 9th inning. The Reds sent out their closer, Ian Gabot, who I'd never heard of. Turns out he only pitched 2 innings last year, The previous year, he actually was a setup man. He had 23 holds. He had an 8-4 record with a 3.33 ERA. But he has had a little bit of a record of giving up home runs in the late innings. He gave up 8 home runs in that year in 75 innings. Not such a bad home run rate. I mean, if you multiply it over a regular season for a starting pitcher, that would be 20 home runs in 187 innings, which really isn't that bad. But he has given it up before. Ahead of myself, though. First, he struck out Willie Adames. Willie Adames striking out for the 3rd time in the game in his Giants debut. But Jung-Hoo Lee walked, and that was for the 2nd time in the game. He's not known for his patience at the plate, but that would be a wonderful addition to his offensive capabilities. If he can get on base by way of the walk, keep that line moving. And then Matt Chapman, the cleanup hitter, did one of the things that he had done quite often last year, and something I really do hope he keeps in his back pocket for use at big moments, and this is one of them. The infield plays him way over to, you can't shift all the way to the other side of the infield, but the defense usually has the second baseman straight up the middle and ready for something that Matt Chapman would pull. But Chapman has done such a good job with his inside-out swing at crucial times, and this is what he did. He got a nice inside-out swing, base it to right field, and Lee races over to third base. So the tying run was at third base with 1 out. All you need is a fly ball. I did not see whether the Reds were playing the infield in or not to cut off that run. It could have been that Ramos just needed to hit a ground ball, a slow ground ball to beat it out for the run to score. But Ramos struck out. And now you had 2 outs with runners at first and third, and the Giants would have to now score by way of a hit or a mistake. Patrick Bailey gets up there, and he takes a 3-0 count. He takes it to a 3-0 count, but he gets the green light on 3-0. That's confidence from Bob Melvin, and it actually, I think, played a purpose in that at bat. Bailey fouled it off, but it gave him a swing, and it gave him some timing on his swing. And then the next pitch, he hits a bullet right up the middle for a game-tying base hit. Some folks were calling it a seeing eye hit, but I think people just don't know what that term means. A seeing eye hit is a 98 hopper that gets through the infield just past the infielders. But this one was a bullet straight up the middle. Yeah, sure, the second baseman dived, but it was not a seeing eye hit. So that brought up Wilmer Flores. Runners at first and third with 2 outs. The game tied now 3-3. And, Flores has been kind of a forgotten man. I think everybody's eyes were trained on Gerard Encarnacion as the new designated hitter, the man who would fill up the middle of the lineup with his power. And then Flores was going to be the guy who spelled Lamont Wade at first base against lefties and maybe stepped in for a little bit as designated hitter. But as soon as Encarnacion went down, Flores was the man. And we all have heard that Flores was injured last year and his back leg was hurt. He could not generate power with his injured leg. But then we also heard that he had improved it. He had rehabbed it over the winter, came back to spring training strong, feeling good. And did he show it on this swing? He fell behind 0-2. And after a 95 up and in for a ball, Jadot hangs a slider, and Flores put a beautiful swing on it, and it went tracing deep into the left field bleachers for the home run, a 3-run shot to give the Giants a 6-3 lead. The Giants celebrated out of the dugout. You saw Adames leaping out of the dugout and making high fives with everybody. And I think as much success as the Giants had during spring training, you still can't predict something like that. And what a moment for Wilmer Flores. And the Giants were able to hold on in the bottom of the 9th inning. when Ryan Walker, he did give up a run. He hit a batter, the pinch hitter with one of those big sweeping sliders he has. Gave up a stolen base and then a base hit up the middle for a run. So the tying run actually did come up to the plate, and Matt McLean hit one too deep left field. It reached the warning track, but it wasn't a true home run threat. In the end, it landed safely in the glove of Ramos. I wanted to make a comment about Logan Webb and his performance. He was a starter in Game 1, opening day. It was a little bit rough for him. He went 5 innings, gave up 3 earned runs. He walked 3. Did not have it really from the start. Was struggling with his stuff, and Webb typically has a difficult time early in games, and that was the case in this one. First inning, he walked 2 batters. He got the first 2 hitters of the inning, and he got. Leaped out to an 0-2 count on the number 3 hitter, Ellie De La Cruz, but then started kind of toying around with pitches, trying to get him to chase. De La Cruz would not chase. He walked, and that really seemed to upset Logan Webb, who walked the next hitter. Then he gave up a hit for a 1-0 lead for the Reds. Then he gave up 2 more runs in the 3rd inning, and was really actually in trouble in the 4th inning. He had runners at first and second with 1 out, was struggling, just not looking right, but got a visit from J.P. Martinez, pitching coach, and the very next pitch he got a ground ball double play, 4-6-3, second to short to first to win the inning. And that, I don't know what J.P. Martinez said, probably something like, use your stuff, put it in the strike zone, and see what happens. And that's what happened. And Webb actually wound up pitching pretty good, pretty strong, getting a 1-2-3 fifth before giving way to the bullpen. And really, what a nice job by the bullpen that came after him. 3 scoreless from Randy Rodriguez, Eric Miller, and Tyler Rogers, and before they handed it over to Ryan Walker. Had a shaky close. He got it, though. And but the theme of the day was San Francisco carrying the confidence over from spring training. And that's a real thing. I think a lot of people dismiss what happens in spring training, but if you have confidence coming out and things happen to your favor, that can just carry over, and that's what happened in Game 1. No game today. The Giants were off just in case there was rain the day before, and so now they get back to action on Friday. Justin Verlander gets his Giants debut and goes against lefty Nick Lodolo. This is a big moment for Verlander, out to show that he's healthy and able. And with a lefty going, it'll be Elliot Ramos probably to lead off. Flores will go to first base. And then the question is, who's that designated hitter? Likely it'll be Luis Matos, but you also have righties Casey Schmidt and Christian Koss on the bench as possibilities. The A's get back to action immediately. In fact, they're starting their game just right now. Tonight's game is lefties Jeffrey Springs up against perennial all-star Luis Castillo. Let's see if Rooker can get something going after striking out 4 times last night. All right, I wanted to do another Did You Know segment. Did you know that Shooty Babbitt, who I've mentioned a couple times in this podcast, once hauled my car? It was my broken down car. He worked for his dad, Mac Babbitt's hauling, and he hauled my car away, and I rode with him, and we talked a lot of baseball. Turns out, I mean, I knew it, of course. He didn't know it, but Shooty Babbitt played at Berkeley High School, was several years before me, but I one time played in a scrimmage, and Shooty Babbitt played in with us, and I do remember playing third base, and Shooty Babbitt up there. I positioned myself basically at the edge of the outfield grass to take one of his bullets. Thankfully, he didn't hit it my way. Later, I actually did an interview with Shooty Babbitt as he was rising through the ranks as a scout in the Arizona Diamondbacks organization. So it was great. It's great to see what he's doing with the A's as an analyst. But that's another Did You Know segment. Okay, that's all I have for today. Thank you for tuning in to Sacramento's Curveballs and Changeups with me, your host, Steve Harmon. You can find Sacramento's Best Baseball podcast on Apple Tunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and wherever else you can listen to podcasts. Until next time, lay off the slider low and away, and that means you, San Francisco Giants and Brent Rooker.